Hegel's philosophy of nature, place and motion, the union of space and time. Paragraph 260. Space in itself is the contradiction of indifferent juxtaposition and of continuity, devoid of difference. It is the pure negativity of itself and the initial transition into time. Time is similar, for as it is opposed moments, held together in unity, immediately sublate themselves. It constitutes an immediate collapse into undifferentiation, into the undifferentiated extrinsicality of space. Consequently, the negative determination here, which is the exclusive point, is no longer merely implicit in its conformity to the notion, but is posited, and is in itself concrete on account of the total negativity of time. This concrete point is place. See paragraph 255 and 256. Addition. If we refer back to the exposition of the notion of duration, we see that this immediate unity of space and time is already the ground of their being. The negative space is time, and the positive, or the being of the differences of time, is space. In this analysis, however, they are posited as of unequal import, or their unity is merely presented as the movement of the transition from one into the other. Consequently, the beginning and the realization, the result, fall apart. The result is the precise expression of their ground and truth, however. The durable element is the self-equality into which time has returned. This is space, the determinability of which is indifferent existence in general. Here the point is that which is in its truth as a universal. It is in fact the whole of space, as a totality of dimensions. This here is to the same extent time, and is now an immediately self-sublating present, or a now which has been. As it is the point of duration, the here is at the same time a now. This unity of here and now is place. Paragraph 261. Initially, the place, which is thus the positive identity of space and time, is also the positive contradiction, set up by the mutual exclusiveness of space and time. Place is spatial and therefore indifferent singularity. And is this only as the spatial now, or time? As this place, it is therefore in a condition of immediate indifference to itself. It is external to itself, the negation of itself, and constitutes another place. This passing away in self-regeneration of space in time and time in space, in which time posits itself spatially as space, while this indifferent spatiality is likewise posited immediately in a temporal manner, constitutes motion. To an equal extent, however, this becoming is itself the internal collapse of its contradiction. It is therefore the immediately identical and existent unity of place and motion, that is, matter. Remark. The transition from ideality to reality, from abstraction to concrete existence, in this case from space and time to the reality which makes its appearance as matter, is incomprehensible to the understanding, for which therefore always remains as something externally presented. Space and time are usually imagined as being empty and indifferent to that which fills them, and yet as always to be regarded as full. They are thought to be empty until they have been filled with matter from without. On the other hand, material things are therefore taken to be indifferent to space and time, and yet at the same time they are accepted as essentially spatial and temporal. It is said of matter that A, it is composite, which is a property it derives from its abstract extrinsicality, space. Insofar as an abstraction is made of time and all form, matter is said to be eternal and immutable, which is, in fact, the immediate result of this. But matter in such a state is merely an untrue abstraction. B. It is impenetrable and offers resistance. it can be felt, seen, etc. These predicates merely indicate that matter has two determinations according to which it exists, partly for determinate perception or more generally for another, and partly and equally for itself. It has these two determinations as the identity of space and time, and of immediate extrinsicality and negativity, or as the being for self of singularity. The transition of ideality into reality also expresses itself in the familiar mechanical phenomenon of reality being replaceable by ideality and vice versa, and it is only the thoughtlessness of popular conception and of the understanding which prevents the identity of both from being recognized in this interchangeability. In the case of the lever, for example, the mass may be replaced by the distance and vice versa, and a certain quantum of moments of an ideal nature produces the same effect as the corresponding moments of a real nature. Similarly, in the magnitude of motion, velocity, which is a quantitative relationship, simply between space and time, replaces mass, and conversely the real nature of the same effect is obtained by augmenting the mass and correspondingly diminishing space and time. A tile does not strike a man dead by itself, it only has this effect by virtue of the velocity it has acquired. The man, that is to say, is struck dead by space and time. Here the understanding gets no further than the reflectional determination of force, which it regards as fundamental, and is not therefore tempted to look further into the relationship of its determinations. Even this thought implies vaguely that the effect of force is the sensuous event of a real nature, however, that there is no difference between the content and expression of force, and that precisely this force has the real nature of its expression in the relationship between the ideal nature of the moments of space and time. This sort of notionless reflection also thinks of what it calls forces as being implanted in matter, and therefore as originally external to it. The very identity of space and time, which hovers vaguely before this reflectional determination of force, and which constitutes the true essence of matter, is consequently posited as something alien and contingent to it, and as brought into it from without. Addition. One place does not merely imply another, it sublates itself into becoming another. The difference is also as sublated as, however. Each place is for itself only this place, so that all places are the same, and place is the simply mediated here. Something occupies one place and then changes its place, passing thereby into another place. But both before and after this it does not leave, but occupies its place. Zeno enunciated this dialect within place when he demonstrated immobility by saying that to move was to change place, but that the hour never leaves place. It never leaves its place. This dialectic is precisely the infinite notion, or the here, for time is posited as being implicit. There are three different places: the present, that which is to be occupied, and the vacated. The disappearances of the dimensions of time is parallelized, but at the same time there is only one place which is common to these places, and invariable throughout all change. And this is the duration which is in immediate accordance with its notion, that is, motion. This demonstration of motion is self-evident, for the intuition of it coincides with its notion. Its essence is its being as the immediate unity of space and time. It is time realizing itself and subsisting in space, or space first truly differentiated through time. We know therefore that space and time belong to motion. Velocity, which is quantum of motion, is space in relationship to a specific time elapsed. Motion is also said to be a relation of space and time. It was necessary, however, to grasp the more exact definition of this relation. Space and time first attain actuality in motion. Just as time is the simply formal soul of nature, and according to Newton, space is the sensorium of God, so motion is the notion of the true soul of the world. We habitually regard it as a predicate of the state, but it is in fact the self, the subject as subject, and the persistence even of disappearance. It is precisely because of its immediate necessity to dissolve itself that it appears as predicate. Rectilinear motion is not motion in and for itself, but motion subordinated to another term, of which, in that it has become a predicate or sublated, it is a moment. The re-establishment of the duration of the point in opposition to its motion is the re-establishment of the immobility of place. This re-established place is not immediate, but the return from alteration, and is the result and ground of motion. In that it is dimension, and so opposed to the other moments, it is the centre. This return as line is a circular line. It is the now, before, and after, joining itself with itself. It is the indifference of these dimensions, in which the before is just as much an after as the after is the before. This is the first necessary paralysis of these dimensions, posited in space. Circular motion is the spatial and subsistent unity of the dimension of time. The point tends towards place, which is its future, and vacates one which is the past. But that which it has behind it is at the same time that at which it will arrive, and it has already been at the after towards which it tends. Its goal is the point which is its past. The truth of time is that its goal is the past and not the future. The motion which relates itself to the centre is itself the plane. That is to say, the motion which, in that it forms a synthetic whole, itself contains its moments or its dissolution in the centre, as well as the radii of the circle which related to the dissolution. This plane itself moves, however, and so becomes its otherness, an entirety of space. That is, the motion returns into itself, and the immobile centre becomes a universal point, in which the whole sinks into quiescence. It is in fact the essence of motion which has here sublated the now, the past and the future, or the different dimensions which constitute its notion. In the circle these dimensions are precisely one, and constitute the re-established notion of duration, or of motion extinguished itself within itself. This is posited mass, durability, that which has condensed itself through itself and displays motion as its possibility. We have now reached the following position. Where there is motion, there is something which moves, and this durable something is matter. Space and time are filled with matter. Space is not adequate to its notion, and it is consequently the notion of space itself which creates its existence in matter. People have often begun with matter and then regarded space and time as its forms. This is a valid procedure insofar as matter is the reality of space and time, but for us space and time must come first because of their abstraction, and matter must then show itself to be their truth. Just as there is no motion without matter, so there is no matter without motion. Motion is the process, it is the passage of time into space and of space into time. Matter, on the contrary, is the relation of time, and space is the quiescent identity. Matter is the primary reality, existent being for self. It is not merely abstract being, it is the positive subsistence of space, as exclusive of other space. The point should also exclude other points, but it does not yet do so, for it is merely an abstract negation. Matter is exclusive relation to self, and consequently the first real limit in space. That which is said to fill time and space, which can be grasped and felt, which offers resistance and which is for itself in its being for other, is simply reached in the general unity of time and space.